All right. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are doing great. I'm hanging out with Luyanda. Luyanda is what are you?
I am diva extraordinaire.
Okay, let's not go there.
Can we start that again?
No, it's okay. Let's not go that route.
Okay.
So basically, Luyanda is
Radio personality.
yeah, he's a radio personality. Yeah.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire, yes. Must we add?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm gonna be picking his brains on some of the things that he does know or not. I'm sure you
Disclaimer,
get most.
I know everything.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, you can take this as a radio 101 lesson. All right. The do's and don'ts, the yin and the yang, pros and cons type of thing regarding radio. Because this segment is about radio. Because that's our forte.
Yeah.
He knows radio. I know radio. Way more than him. But anyway,
Okay,
let's not get into that.
Right.
All right, I just want to just a brief, concise version of your background when one talks of Luyanda Biyela, who describes himself as a radio personality.
This reminds me, it takes me back to 3 years ago when I walked into your office for that interview. So Luyanda Biyela is, again, radio presenter extraordinaire. I've been doing radio for the past 6 years, Mrs.
Oh, has it been though?
It's been 6 years.
Yeah.
So immediately after I left school, I went to DUT and I went to campus radio, which was Radio DUT at the time. And
that's where most people start off with.
That's where most people start off. Yeah. And I went for the auditions first time and they didn't call me back because I was apparently too bubbly and too loud.
Yeah.
And you realize now there's no such thing.
It's really the first time people get to be taken. I understand.
I know. And then I went back 6 months later and I got the job. Sure. And I remember I was co-hosting a show with CP Msani, who was brilliant. She was amazing. We were doing the 1 2 3 show, because remember, campus radio station had 2-hour shows.
Yeah.
Of the amount of people that were there. So you literally, some shows were like an hour. So you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. And that's where I just learned this competitive thing, because you're just trying to be better than the next person, because it's campus radio. You want that drive time slot, which was the most respected slot at the time.
Yeah.
And then I stayed there for 3 years, and I was jobless after I left Radio DET. And I sent through demos to you until I got the call to come in for the interview. So yeah, I've been doing radio for the past 6 years. I'm old.
Yeah. You feel old. You feel old. Imagine how I feel. Just imagine.
Okay.
Just imagine.
What's the fields up in here?
Okay, fast forward, because it already has been 6 years in the industry. I mean, what have you learned? Because now I feel like you can say something somewhat tangible when one speak of radio
and experience
and the experience and the industry itself. I mean, what have you learned, and then what about the campus radio and also the community radio that you are in the industry, that the sector that we are in?
I love that question because growing up, I've always listened to the traditional radio shows where you would get, remember back in the day they used to hire people with a generic voice?
Yeah.
Your voice had to sound a specific way for you to be on the radio. You just had to be a specific type of person to be on the radio.
It's funny that things have changed.
Things have changed now.
The likes of us are no longer needed on radio.
Exactly. So you see when you look at a Thulan Tee Zondi and you go, wow, your voice is radio. You could call Thulan Tee Zondi up at 3 a.m. in the morning. You're like, are you doing a show? Where are you? Yeah. And it's just his normal talking voice. And for me, that was not the case.
It is, by the way. Yes, it is.
No, but it's not for me.
It isn't for you.
A traditional radio voice where people would expect to hear it on the radio. And I struggled with
Why that is?
Because you look at people like Thulan Tee Zondi, you look at people like Luyanda Biyela, who had this generic radio voice.
Yeah.
It's
perceived to be.
Exactly. You have your DJ Fresh, it's dark, it has this baritone, and then you cross over to the women, you look at Mam Dudukoza, who also has a very generic radio voice, where you're like, okay, this person belongs on the radio. And now you call up call centers and you're like, hey, your voice belongs on the radio.
Yeah.
But they're not on the radio.
Sure.
So the medium has changed like that, and I've struggled with that for the longest time because I'm like, oh, my voice doesn't sound like Thulan Tee Zondi, or it doesn't sound like Linda Spear, it doesn't sound like Bonang, because I grew up in a, or rather, my come up was at a time where Bonang was prominent on the radio. Everybody wanted to sound like her.
It's funny that you mentioned Bonang, because I mean, I think even on TV, because I mean, she started off on TV, right? And then she transited to be going on radio. Everybody thereafter started sounding like Bonang.
Exactly.
I was like, okay, this is weird, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, she's a trendsetter, so it's so good.
It's a trendsetter, but you sort of lose yourself in that when you want to sound like someone else. And
It's crazy when you're gonna start sounding like someone else. And then imagine if ever you somebody comes in here and then looking for a job and they start sounding like you.
Yeah.
Why should we
hire you?
Because we already have Luyanda.
Exactly. We try to sound like someone else.
When we mimic, because this is what we say, you emulate. You can emulate someone else's antics when they do radio, but I mean, we're not saying you should sound like them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So put a spanner in the works, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like have something that is your signature, but yes, you can emulate, and then
I think the word we're looking for is authentic.
Be authentic.
Be yourself. Be authentic. And I struggled with that for a long time on campus radio because we were all trying to sound like one another. We were all trying to sound like we were trying to sound like Bonang, we're trying to sound like whatever. I remember meeting people like Abo Matt Bright, who also worked here as one of the producers. And when I met them, they were unique. They were themselves. And I was like, there's power in being yourself. And I think like 2 years in, I started sounding more and more like myself, like how I sound now, like how I would randomly speak when I wake up in the morning, and things got better then. So I think the things that I've learned on the radio is, number one, consistency is very important on the radio. When you have to be consistent, and not just consistent doesn't mean coming to work every day. You have to be consistent in the sense that you have to show up.
Well, consistent means come to work every day.
Exactly. But be consistent in your energy, be consistent in your delivery, be consistent in what you do. And I think that's the one thing you said to me as well. So you can't have this energy one day, that energy the other day, this energy the one day, because it confuses the people who are listening, and it just makes you less authentic in a way, because you are basically ruled by your emotions. And I think it works best for me because I'm passionate about radio. So staying consistent is so easy. But sometimes you will come to work and you will cry just for like, and then you just have to wipe those tears. Dust it off and go. And when the lick is done, you're like, why was I crying again? Because you fall in love with radio every day. You're falling in love with it every day you go on air.
Since you're talking about consistency also, do you have split personality as an on-air personality? Because I mean, the reason why I'm asking this, and there's some other people who come up to me and say like, "Oh, you actually talk like that." It's like, yo, it's my voice. Yeah. This is how, because I don't separate myself from Thulan at home, Thulan at work, but I will tell you, because it splits at times. And some of the people will say like, yo, you be yourself. So I'll tell you why. Hence, because I mean, radio is considered to be a craft, right? So I equate it to how television people would do. So you'll be Luyanda Biyela at home. That's how your parents named you, and that's how your friends, peers, everybody calls you. That's how you identify yourself.
I am Luyanda.
You are Luyanda. But then when you go onto TV, when you portray a character, people tend to fall in love with the certain character that you portray. So that's not you. You're playing someone else. So when you get off stage or when you get off TV, when they see you in person, they expect the same energy that you portray, or that character that you portray. So much so with the radio, I equated with radio too as well. How do I say that? Is that when I'm at home, I am a dad to my kids, I am a son to my parents, I'm a brother to my siblings, and then so on and so forth. I'm a friend to my friends. And then how I speak with any of these people, it's different to how I would speak when I'm on air. So meaning that I take up a character when I'm on air. So I become someone else. So if ever I am angry, as you were saying, that you would wipe yourself up and then go on air, and then immediately when you shut that mic off, and then you go back to whatever that you're suffering from. So meaning that when you are on radio, so we don't want to hear your sob story. We don't want to hear anything. Quite frankly, we don't even care. So you build a character that we're able to associate with it. So if you had made us to believe that you are a bubbly, witty, full of jokes and all that messing around on air, but professionally though.
Mhm.
But when you're not doing that the next day, and then what would we say? We say, no, that wasn't
You're
you.
fake, yeah.
You know what I mean? That wasn't you. Meaning that you stepped out of the character that you have made us to believe in and then get accustomed to and then love the character. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we somewhat know what when you come on, what we were able to get out of you.
I understand that 100%, but don't you think that because I know you have a similar energy off air and on air.
Somewhat, yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And so when I could bump into you anywhere and I'll
Sure.
still get the same Thulan Zondi,
Bonke
who is-
bashonja.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that to me is a real presenter, someone who knows how to
Switch.
switch it up at the same time, but also find a balance because
Sure.
we're not gonna always be happy when you see people.
We're human.
Exactly.
We're human.
So when and there's these annoying things that we get asked. I don't know, Mrs. Zondi, if this happens to you.
What's that?
Hi, you work for United FM? Yeah, please play my song on the radio. It's not that easy. Why didn't I win last week on that thing?
With that one, I mean there are channels. Obviously, that needs to be followed. There's
Exactly.
protocol. So you need to submit your music, and then if it falls within what the station plays in terms of format,
Exactly.
and then you'll get to be accepted. Because I mean, we have the music committee that we have here, and then they scrutinize and then go over your song, and then it gets to be played instead.
Picture this.
Right.
Now, Thulan Zondi. You are Thulan Zondi, you are an artist, and you're bumping into me at a random place. At a random place at this point.
Sure.
You come up to me, I'm with my friends, I'm with my family, I'm trying to enjoy myself, I'm having a nice time. You come with that question. Hey, please play my song on the radio. Why didn't I win that cash prize you guys were giving away last week?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I will respond, but you probably won't like it because I'll probably be like, well, have you submitted your music? Try submitting it. Like, you can't just come up to me and say, I must play your song. Submit the music. Is your song registered? Because when you ask these questions, people always go, register the email address. And then now I'm like, okay, so what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say at this point? And people don't understand that. I'm just supposed to say, oh my gosh, okay, fine, I'll play your song. Send it to me now. Then that's the reaction that people, expect to receive. And when they don't, you are now
You are deemed as someone who is
you're fake, you're not who you say you are, you don't really love us. Because I say, oh my god, I love you guys whenever the show ends. So now it's like, oh, you don't really love us, you're just saying that for pretend, or you're just saying that to keep your job at the radio station. And it's really not the case.
I suppose. I mean, you have to find me at the right time. I suppose.
Still, find me at the right time, good time.
Where my mood is okay.
If the question is dumb for me, it's dumb. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not gonna wait for the right time. Wait for if I'm in a good mood, bad mood. In fact, I love meeting people that listen to the shows because then we can talk about anything. We could talk about anything. And one thing you said also was, I remember I was joining and we were doing the Urban Chart Show.
Oh yeah.
And you kept on saying to me, share your experiences, share the things that you go through, because radio is theater of the mind. People want to get in your world. People want to know who they are listening to on the radio.
And again, when you said that, and then when I say share your experiences, share your whatever that happens, because I mean, radio is a theater of mind. But also, there's a fine line, and then which you should be very wary of when you do that. Radio, because you know this. I mean, we've been talking for the longest of time about this. Is that there is no I in radio, right? So you can't be jumping on when the mic is on and then start talking about yourself. You know what I mean? Because I mean, quite frankly, we don't care.
No one cares.
We are not interested. So try by all means, if ever you're in aspiring, and then if ever you've been doing, because hence we did say that this is actually Radio 101. Stop talking about yourself when you are on air. There is no I on radio. You know what I mean? People don't care what you ate last night. People don't care what you guys are wearing in studio, because you know what I mean. You can't see us, but with the 4i ad, and then obviously we can have
streams and lives
and all that, and then also you get to have a glimpse of what actually goes on in studio. But there is no I in radio, so quit talking about yourself. And then content is key, because I mean, I think there's another point that I actually want us to actually go through to.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
content.
content. Because if you're gonna be going on air and then you blank, there's nothing worse than
There's
somebody who's
nothing
gonna be
worse.
going on air and then they have
Oh, they
nothing
have
to talk
nothing to
about.
say. Oh, that's cringe.
Yeah.
Also, not even blank. It's
It's
just
back
cringe.
announcing and then saying something so dumb and then go to the song and then I'm like, okay, why do I keep listening to that? Because you know what? I can actually switch because I mean that's a tune out factor, by the way.
Mm.
So if you say something that I don't agree with, and then I'm well within
My
that,
rights.
I can able to go to a different.
Exactly.
I can channel hop
Yeah.
until I find something that is worthy of me to listen to. So if not, if you aren't able to give me that, and then I would immediately switch on to the next, which they would able to give me.
Mm.
So how much of content, how important is content on radio?
Content is very important. I learned this from you as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people know that Mr. Zondi, Thulan Zondi is my producer as well here at one. He
I
produces the show
multitask,
that I do.
remember.
And I've noticed that
Multifaceted person.
in the script we would have the normal day to day is what we're doing, your features, your calendar. It's the normal stuff that we do. Then I never really used to understand this, but there would be these random bits and pieces of information on the script, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we never like I've never done. Why do I need this on the script?
Yeah.
And then he'll go, you'll figure it out, you'll see. And then in between the show, because again it's live radio, when you're
Yeah.
doing something live,
Yeah.
like stuff happens. Your interview is stuck in traffic,
Yeah.
that happens. You are supposed to have a telephonic interview. This is South Africa, load shedding.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's all
We're
these
about
things
to
that
be load shedding.
right
Yeah.
now.
Right
And
now.
you
But it's
you
fine.
these things
Go
happen
on.
and you get so mad and you're like, oh my god, the interview is not here. Then Mrs. Lundy will go, open your script.
Yeah.
You see, so now the person who's listening cannot say that there's a shortfall, the show is lacking,
Mm.
because you, number one, you're prepared, you have something to say,
True.
you have something to speak about, and 9 out of 10 times it's literally trending news that you could talk about in the show. So content is very important, but know your audience so that you know what content to feed them. Like for example, for us here, we can't talk about something random like buying planes,
Mm. Mm.
or I don't know, traveling to I don't know, let's take a trip to Paris. Let's talk about Louis Vuitton. Let's talk about
It's interesting that you just came to that point.
mm,
It's something that probably we would have covered. We still can.
mm,
Talking about the demograph.
yeah.
Because I mean, it's very important. We just got load shedded, by the way. Sorry, but we continue. Sorry,
We
good. We
continue.
continue. Um, so how important it is to understand your audience, the
Hmm.
people that you are talking to, your demographic, and then also the LSM.
Yeah.
I know some of the people, I mean, when we start talking about these industry jargons, as they call them, it's like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah.
basically, it's understanding the people that you are broadcasting to. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So if I ask Luyanda, is that who is your audience? Who do you talk to? Let's take an example. Let me put you on the spot. Your show.
Hmm.
Who does your show talks to? And then who are your audience? And then are you doing exactly that to your audience? And then how are you able to make measure?
Okay, so number one, I noticed that a lot of people who interact with the show are people somewhat in between the ages of 20, in their 20s up into their late 30s.
Sure.
That's the prominent person who listens to the show, and this person is literally in the areas of Ntuzuma, Wamashu, Inanda,
And the surroundings, because I
and
mean, in the
surrounding
outskirts
areas,
of.
outskirts. This is someone who is driven. This is someone who's motivated. This is someone who wants to know more about the area they live in. This is somebody who wants to know more about themselves.
True.
This is somebody who wants to uplift themselves in a way of consuming content on the radio.
Mm,
So this is why we have features like the Lunchtime Fix Courtroom,
mm.
where we talk about things that we go through on a daily, and we pick each other's brains, because again, there's no it, 20s and 30s and early 40s, we like to debate, we like to argue, we like to be on the different sides of the fence, not to mean that we're fighting, but we love to have
It's a debate.
different opinions, and we like to be heard. Our opinions, we need to put them out there. We have things like the travel corner, because we like to travel as young people.
Mm.
So we have but unfortunately are not as privileged to just randomly pack our bags and go. This is why we have traveling on a budget, things that we talk about on the show.
Yeah.
All these music artists that we bring about on the show, they're
Sure.
young, they're fresh, it's vibey music.
And also, it's
Business oriented.
business oriented. Yes.
I was gonna end off with that because I think it's my biggest selling point for the show. Whenever people ask me, so what's the show about? It's a business oriented show.
Yeah.
It's so fresh in terms of the people that we bring onto the show. If you look at Stindile Gajene, who is a contributor to the show,
Business consultant. Yeah.
she's a business consultant herself. She works with businesses every day. You could literally wake Slee up in the morning and say, how do I get these forms and see that there's funding opportunities? She will not need to go on the internet because she works with things like these every day.
Yeah. Even Langa.
Mr. Langa as well.
Yengwa also from
Another
Bogabanzi,
brilliant person from Bogabanzi Consulting.
Background is accounting, so obviously, I mean, that on its own as well.
It's big. So content needs to be focused, aligned, and focused on what the person wants. Because at the end of the day, something that you said as well, people don't know what they want until you present it to them on a silver platter.
And it's like, wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna run with that.
You know what? Some of the people that have been there before me, because I know sometimes we don't have the luxury of having to play songs because we like the song. You know what I mean? So we have music compilers and then music schedulers. Or
you're like, oh, I hate the song. You turn them out. I love the song.
Whether you hate the song or you love the song, and it's not up to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are able to make, you know what I mean, like suggestions there and there, which is okay, it's all good, because we work within the organization itself. But we don't have the luxury of having to play our own songs because we felt like, okay, today I woke up in a good mood.
Let me play my friend's song.
I'm going to be playing Stevie Wonder all day. Isn't she's lovely or whatever? But
in fact, you don't even know what music's going to be on the show until
you don't
get in the studio and you're like, okay.
So I was actually getting into that in terms of having to play music. So I mean, there's so many things that happens on radio that a lot of people are unaware of. So if you're going to be going on air and then you play a certain song and then it doesn't appeal to you, fine, touche. Someone else
someone else will enjoy it.
You know what I mean? So there are certain things that happens on air which you may not able to like per se, but the show must go on.
The show must go on.
You know what I mean? And I just forgot, I lost my train of thought about there's a point that I actually wanted to get into.
I think we should do this more often.
I think we should. So I want to jump on to, because I mean, already covered content, how important content is on radio. And then also having to understand your audience, your demographic, and who are you presenting,
selling to,
exactly. You know what I mean? Now, let's infuse the sales and marketing office with the programming. How important that should be.
Those are
merged.
Two separate departments.
Yeah.
Who are so reliant on each other. If one falls, the other crumbles. If the other crumbles, the other falls. Because when the sales team leaves the studio to go sell, they are putting their power, or rather they're putting their eggs in programming to say that we have this, and we can give you this, or we'll give you that, or whatever. So programming is very, very important, but I would put programming above sales for simply one reason.
I hear.
We wouldn't have sales without programming.
True.
If we can have sales, but it would be something completely different if programming wasn't there.
Yeah.
We can have programming without sales. We've seen it happen many times. We can't have sales without programming. Yeah. So I would put programming slightly above sales because programming is essentially the number one selling point for any radio station. Yeah. They'll tell you. That's why people are getting fired left, right. That's why people fight for jobs on radio. That's why people get replaced. That's why things happen because these programming managers, they know that this person will sell this product best. This person will do this very good. Blah blah blah. And when we look at programming and we look at the type of shows that are put in, it's literally stuff that is pre-thought, stuff that is like engineered, I would say, to make the sales office job much easier.
You know what? Let me tell you. Okay, essentially, this is how radio works, and then I think this is across all sectors.
Yeah.
So radio, for it to run functional, obviously, I mean, it's the numbers, which the ratings
Yeah.
versus revenue. So, if the station is unable to generate money, revenue, it's not going to able to sustain itself.
It won't.
Essentially, that what means.
Mm-hmm.
So it means there will be no one working on radio.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, as we were talking about sales and marketing and then programming, having to match the two so that the radio can able to sustain itself. So these two can't work without the other.
Without the other.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But talking about merging things, I just have so many. There's an influx of information that I actually
We need to write this down.
wanted to disseminate. But however, I just wanted to find out something. Having to, because I mean, we're living in the digital age right now. For IR, as we've been saying, the fourth industrial
So streaming radio,
streaming radio, and then
lives.
doing lives, and then doing Facebook, and then doing TikTok, and then doing WhatsApp as well. So these are different formats. And then medium of communication, let me put it that way, medium of communication that we have. And then with that being said, marrying the two, how was it? And then how is it beneficial for radio?
Sales
Because
and
initially, this is what other people were saying, that with the formation or the introduction of all these social media platforms, that means radio is dying. And then I did ask certain people, I think I did ask you too as well, when you first came in. Do you feel like radio is dying? And then you can able to answer that because you're here in front of the camera.
I am here. I'm a research person. I love research. Radio is one of the oldest forms of traditional forms of media. It's so powerful in the sense that social media is forever changing. It's forever. It fluctuates. Like, social media is reliable, yes, but we can't really rely on it because it is also driven by other factors like your Wi-Fi, internet connection, blah blah blah. Radio is like that, but radio can go on little as opposed to social media. Now, marrying the two doesn't mean that we have to kill the other so just the other could thrive. Then if that was the case, then people wouldn't be podcasting these days.
Hence the term marrying, because I mean it becomes union one.
It becomes a podcast now, where people are now shying away from the traditional ways in which we do radio, where we would have 30 minutes news in 30 minutes. We would have a specific, billboard that we follow. So marrying the two is essential for us to carry on, but we also need to not lose that traditional sense of what radio is. And that's why now I don't want to see what my radio presenter's wearing on because they do this. It's okay to go live sometimes, but why should we stream radio shows inside the studios? To me, that's just killing it now. Because I could just have an Instagram live then, and I could just be the next MacG then, if that's the case.
Okay, I think you have a point there. The streaming, the live streaming at times, because I mean, back in the days when radio was exciting, because I mean, this is my personal view about what radio is right now. I feel like it lacks the wow factor. I'm never amazed.
Let's go back to the times where you would literally sit at home and wonder how Luyanda looks, and just wonder.
And then how you do what you do, and then be a
part.
storyteller, the deliverance as well.
And
so
that was my favorite part about radio.
Radio back in the days, it used to have skits, radio skits. You would have skits, and then sometimes it would be done in studio, where at home. Hence the theater of mind, and then you just wonder how they do that. You know what I mean? It used to be nice. It's audible. But now, when there's cameras in studios, and then you are able to capture everything that happens there. I remember one incident. One of the popular DJs then was actually doing a radio skits, pretending to be robbed in studio. People coming in, and then things were being rattled in studio. But it sounded nice when I listened to it on radio, because I'm just like, oh, what is going on? You know what I mean?
Imagine if we had this technology.
And then
now.
a video was released, because they were recording that video too as well, and then you could tell, the reenacting of what they were doing there, and then it just lost all essence of what it did when I first initially had it, when it was on air, rather on radio.
I want to hear it, not see it.
Yeah. All right.
We're gonna wrap it up.
We're gonna wrap it up. We almost 30 minutes in.
30 minutes in. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do another segment. It's all about radio.
Yes.
Radio 101. That's what it is. That's what we call
And
it.
hopefully, I'm going for my hair appointment, so I'll look better next year. Thank you.
Ew. So yeah, that's Luyanda, by the way. So you can able to get when you're able to catch him.
Follow me, please. It's at @reallouis_b across your socials. I look so different on my social media than I do on my normal everyday day-to-day life. It's
Filter.
normal. Filter. And yeah, I take one picture a year and I post it, and it's usually when I look good.
Yeah.
Not right now. So yeah, to my appointment it is. To the salon. What's the TikTok?
All right, it's off to the salon, and we're going to be doing this radio series and Radio 101. So you can catch him on Inanda, 12 to 3, the lunchtime fix with Nolutando. For me,
And Luyanda.
I'm all over.